Hey everyone, Jesse here with Vancouver Bike Repair, and today we're going to be replacing the headset on a $25 bike we picked up. Real nice, cheap deal that we're going to fix up and pass on, and it's actually in really good shape. Just need a little bit of basic tuning, attention to detail, and a replacement headset, which can be a bit of a headache if you don't have the right tools, but we've got the right tools here to keep it nice and simple. So, yeah, you're going to need a new headset, pictured over there on the right. We've got grease, you're going to need that. You're going to need the crown race removal tool. I'm using the Ice Tools particular one. It's a cheap screw-on one. There's a lot of different ways to go about it, but this one's kind of easiest without having to make a major investment. As far as reinstalling the crown race, there's tools for that, or you can get a split crown race, like what comes with this particular headset. Pretty cheap headset, but more than good enough for a $25 bike. I think the headset's actually $26. So things doubled in value by the time we're done. You're going to need an Allen key to remove the headset itself. You're going to need something to drive the races out of the headset itself, or the head rather, the frame. So we got that removal tool there, and then we've got the installation tool on the far left. Purchasing all this can add up. If you're not going to be doing this often like we are, then you're probably better off just bringing it by, as we can do these pretty quick. However, if you want to do it yourself, these are some of the basic tools. So once you have all the tools, the basics that you need, and the headset to replace, you're going to want to step through some pretty simple basics. Beginning with, you're going to want to disconnect the front brake. In this case, we don't have disc brakes, so it's pretty straightforward. If you have disc brakes, just drop the front wheel off. It'll make your life a lot easier. You also will want to disconnect the brake lever from your handlebar typically, and pull that off so as you can drop the whole fork out, as when you work on this, the whole thing will be coming off. So also keep in mind that you will have some simple Allen head bolts holding it on, these two up top and this right here. And as soon as you undo this one and then these two, you'll be able to drop the forks right off, and that will let you get into everything inside here, the headset itself. So at this point, your fork should drop away clean from the frame, and just in case it wasn't clear, you are going to want to remove the front wheel no matter what. That way, it doesn't totally just fall out of there like crazy, because it'll be heavy. And if it doesn't, one thing you're going to want to take a look at is there is this little retention collar here. Let's see if I can get my focus on that. And sometimes that'll hold, and it's actually a separate piece from this here. And you can just take a rubber mallet and whack the top of the fork to just kind of drive that loose and wiggle a little bit, and then it'll fall clean out, and then you're ready for the next step. Next step is the race removal tool we had discussed, and you're going to want to make sure you have one for 1/8 inch. You may have a more modern mountain bike that'll have 1.5 inches on the bottom, and then there's some weird Japanese industrial standard 1-inch ones. Those are pretty rare. You can pretty much count on you having 1 1/8 inch on most standard, mountain bikes of years past, and current ones 1.5 inches on the bottom, 1 1/8 up top. And it's really simple to use this. You just come right on in, slide it through, and it will just pop into place, slam in, and then you're going to want to take a hammer and just hammer it out. Final step of the replacement headset jet task for removal is you're going to want to attach the crown race removal tool. You'll see there it's got those sharp edges, and those actually start to engage underneath the crown race. You will snug it up with the appropriate size Allen key, and then it will press that off and shortly thereafter pop off. Now, if you happen to purchase a headset with a split crown race, your life will be quite easy at this point, because it just pops right on. However, if you did not get one, you will need to put it down. It will eventually hit the tapered portion, and then you'll need to hammer it on politely. Don't use a screwdriver and alternate sides. You'll probably score the heck out of everything and potentially cause problems and deform it. They make specific driving tools for that. I've also heard you can get the correct diameter pipe and hammer on that pipe, although I personally have always used the correct tools. Split crown races, however, are fine. A lot of people use them. A lot of people have had great luck with them. A lot of people have used them in mountain biking for a while, downhill biking, all sorts of crazy stuff with great luck. So there's no reason you probably can't get away with one if you're watching this video, unless you happen to be an expert who for some reason needs to watch my video. More than likely, if you know enough about biking and you're hammering hard enough, you won't need this video. And if you do, you can probably get away with one of these absolutely fine for many years. Next, you're going to want to drive on the races onto the frame itself. And what's nice about this X Tools one, there's also a Park Tools equivalent, and there's a couple other varieties. Park Tools has a couple varieties, is it has all the different steps, so as anyone will fit. In this particular case, it fits on fine, and we'll be able to drive it on with this tool. So once mounted up, the process is pretty simple. You're just going to turn this top piece, and it will slowly drive your race into the frame as it snugs up. So now that we've got the bottom one, we're going to do the top. And in case it wasn't obvious before, you're going to obviously want to have grease on there. And so make sure you get it greased up, just anywhere there's metal and metal contact. It will help prevent corrosion, anything like that. Last thing you want is these two to rust themselves together. It can be a nightmare to get out, amongst many other reasons. So make sure to apply a thin layer of grease all the way around, as I have, and then wipe any excess off, and it will help prevent any corrosion over time. So again, same with the top as you did the bottom. You want to place it in. You're going to have both tapers in, and you're just going to snug this up, and it will soak up that difference there. You can see it's pressing in, and it's pretty much there. Cool, good to go. So at this point, you're going to want to put the fork back on with the bearings on, and just for demonstration, I've got both bearings on here. You can see they're pretty liberally greased up, and there's also the retention collar right there. Obviously, the frame will be going in between those two bearings, but just for demonstration right now, you can kind of see how that retention collar works, hopefully. Goes right in here, will help keep it in place. You can't rely on it to hold the whole fork. Sometimes an extra set of hands here helps the most. But you'll pull this top bearing here, I'm wiggling off, slide this all on with this bearing on the bottom, put this one on top, the retention collar, and then just reinstall. And we'll talk more about tightening and tensioning this in a second. All right, here you have the completed, fully assembled version for your viewing pleasure, and essentially you'll be sliding the fork all the way in. You'll have those bottom bearings in place. You'll place the top ones. You'll place the retention ring. There's a little washer that goes on top of it. You have that top cap there. Your spacers in the order you had them, or change them if you want, or if you happen to be replacing your handlebar stem, you can adjust those as necessary to get the reach you want. This one's a little ridiculous because it's old school, but hey, $25 bike, which now is a $26 headset. And then what you'll do is you'll put the top cap in, and that screws into a star nut that is inside of the stem of the fork, and that will actually, that drives in, it's in place, it's held in place. With this particular headset, it comes with a new one if you need it. In this particular case, don't worry about it. So at that point, you'll kind of get that just a little bit snug. I like to go all the way snug and then back it out. That way I know if there's any slack in there, it's pulled it all out. Then you can tighten your handlebar stem, and at that point, you're going to want to double check, and I'll show you the method I use to double check that you haven't over tightened it or that it's not loose. And there's two things to quickly check. Okay, so with the tire back on, brakes and everything hooked up, this is the first of 2 checks to make sure you got the headset just right, and it's really simple. You're just going to reach up, turn the handlebars, you're going to let go of them, they're going to bounce over and bounce back smoothly. It's going to have no problem bouncing around like that. So, if it does that, you're good. If it goes from one side, bounces, and sticks, or hits and then slowly goes back, it's too tight. So what's happening is you've got resistance all the way up to here, and it'll creak up, creak and slow, and then it'll come back. So that's the first check. Second check, you're going to want the bike off the stand, presuming you have a stand to work with. You're going to want to be holding the front brake. And then what you're going to do is turn the wheel sideways. Why is this important? Because it eliminates any slop that may be felt in the brake, anywhere else in the system. In the fork, it's not uncommon to have a tiny little bit of movement throughout there. But like this, you're really just checking the headset. And then you'll scoot the bike forward and back. And if you don't feel a clunk, you feel a nice even flex. In this case, it's a little bit of the wheel, a little bit of everything's flexing. It's a $25 bike, but there's no little clunk, there's no little felt looseness inside the headset. So it's passed both tests. This bike has gone from $25 now to $51 of value if you account in such a way. So there we go. That's how I replace a headset on a bike here at Vancouver Bike Repair.